What's up, everybody? All right, so we're back here. I'm gonna kind of make this podcast big picture, right? So a lot going on with our politics, with our rights, with different things coming light with lying and misinformation. And so the one thing that really helped me understand and cultivate a new perspective during all this was understanding the bigger picture, right? The things that control the things that we see day to day that now ultimately create the emotions and the actions that we have against those. So I'm going to jump into these right away. So if you guys know what the word cabal is, you know, like a cabal, like a gathering of secrecy, a group of conspirers to you know, do good or bad against something. And so there's a big cabal group that has been known around the politic world. You know, we always talk about politicians being in bed with politicians. That's the whole cabal. And the names right now that are getting exposed with a lot of legal stuff are the Clintons, the Obamas, the Rockefellers. These are the big names. And then you have, you know, the McCabs and people like that. So these secret societies, all this stuff has been around for forever. They're all documented. So I'm going to dive into a few of them here and then kind of get you guys to understand a bigger picture and use this as a formula to kind of understand modern politics, you know, these surface politics that we see on the news each day. So bear with me, I got notes here today for sure, but I'm going to kind of just digress from the 13 families and kind of hit on the ultimate controlling factor. These royal bloodlines have been around for forever, and the 13 families that ultimately control and manipulate the world today are backed by what is known the black nobility. And the black nobility have been around since the Tower of Babylon, you know, back biblical days. And they have over years kept bloodlines rich by marrying into each other's bloodlines through cousins, through using ultimate seniority sense of passing down generation of bloodline. And so Rothschild, Rockefeller, these people also are in that group. But the black nobilities were actually around before the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds being the oldest of the European Jewish descents that are controlling the world right now. Rothschild, previously known as Bauer, B-A-U-E-R, then later switched to B-O-W-E-R. They are kind of like the beginning forces of New Age, New World Order. And the whole movement is called the Rothschild House, and everything operates outside of that, outside of the black nobility. So you have the black nobility, the Rothschild House, and everything that comes along after it. So I'm kind of just going to explain to you what the black nobility is. The black nobility is the House of Hanover in Germany. It is the House of Habsburg in Austria. It's the House of Orange in the Netherlands. It's the House of Liechtenstein in Liechtenstein, and the House of Guelph in Britain. And so you can Google a whole bunch of these families. The most prominent one today is the Oldesachis, O-L-D-E-S-H-A-C-H-I. But these families are around for generations and generations. And the black nobility, the biggest black nobility, like I said before, is the Oldesachi, O-L-D-E-S-C-A-L-C-H-I. I'll pop their symbol up here. But they own a company from the Cernobio. That's Cernobio, Italy, is kind of where the origin is from. And so Cernobio comes the company CERN. So this deep black nobility family, Oldesachi, from Cernobio, creates a company called CERN. And if you look here, their logo is 666. I mean, all of it, it's too many ties, guys, too many ties. And the black nobility controls the whole New World Order agenda. They have the 13 families, the Council of 13 Families, in charge of overseeing the intricacies of the Committee 300, which ultimately controls everything that we see in the public view, the UN, the federal stuff, the US, the Mossad, everything. I'll jump into all that. But I'm going to throw up on the screen here just a diagram of what the black nobility has put into place with the New World Order agenda. Obviously, it's a pyramid. So at the top here's the New World Order organizational chart. So I'm going to go to the bottom first. And when you look here on the bottom, you're going to see the things like, you know, Walmart and all these oil companies and banks and Coca-Cola, American Express, IBM, all these different major companies, CERN, all these news outlets. You see ABC, NBC, PBS, AP, CNN, Reuters, Washington Times, Washington Post, Wall Street, Time Magazine, New York Times, all of them, right? And you see all these companies, and that's what we're taught to get mad at, right? The guys that are making hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars a year running McDonald's and Apple and all that shit. In reality, you know, these guys are just the puppets, because what's controlling those companies are different things. We have political factors. The political factors are going to be our Trilateral Commission, government leaders, the Supreme Court, how the United Nations and the Bilderbergs and Club of Rome rule on it. You've got the intelligence agencies that interfere, like the CIA, M15, Interpol, Mossad, stuff like that. The drug cartels are also self-financed through these people. You've got the religious sanctions that are gonna, you know, create philosophies for certain people to live by, and now they have predictive outcomes for people if they know a certain group of people are going to react a certain way because it's their religion. And then they have educational, right? The Lucis Trust, which is huge. World Union. I can go through so many of this. The World Constitution Association. And so all of those things are these moving figures that we don't really know everything about, but it's definitely something that we know a little bit about, but we don't ask the right questions, right? Because all these things are now connected with your financial groups, your world banks and the central banks, the Federal Reserve, all these research institutes. The Stanford Research Institute is separate from everyone else. The Brookings Institute, the Committee of 300 is considered in the research institution, and we'll get into them. And then you got the secret societies, right? The Freemasons, Skull and Bones, the Knights of the Malta, stuff like that. And those secret agencies and those entities that have minimal dirt on them are ran by, ultimately, as you see here, these, this is going to show 15 families, I believe, right here, but there's 2 of them are going to be kind of just more influential people with the Illuminati. But in terms of the actual 13 families of the society, there's 13, right? So up on the top of all of them, you got the Rothschilds, you've got the Astor bloodline, you've got the Bundy bloodline, the Collins, the DuPonts, the Freemans, the Kennedys, the Lees, the Onassys, the Rockefellers, the Disneys, the Russells, Van Doyne, the Merovingian, I'm so sorry, I pronounced those last 2 wrong, Merovingian, and the Reynolds. And those are going to be the main families, and they're going to all be tied into one or each of these different categories. Some of the names I didn't mention that are very influential are the Bush family. I forgot the name of the original Bush, but he had a whole bunch of controversy against the U.S. government years and years before George Sr. and George Jr. were born. And when George Sr. was put into presidency, he was actually under Rockefeller and under Soros' direction. And what had happened is when he went to war, the way he handled it actually cost the Rothschilds so much money. That's why he didn't get reelected, and they brought Bill Clinton in. And in 1992, Bill Clinton signed in the Agenda 21 order with the United Nations to set this entire movement of New World Order up. So they knew they couldn't really rely on George Sr. So they brought Clinton in. Clinton served his full 8 years, and the Bush family did redeem themselves with Bush Jr. And bringing George in, they were all part of a group, right? These secret societies I talk about. So one of them is called the Skull and Crossbones, and there's only 15 of them that are allowed into the secret society. They do 6 sexual sadistic rituals. There's a movie called Eyes Wide Shut that kind of copies a lot about these rituals that they do, and even the castle that they used in the movie is owned by the Rothschilds. Crazy ties. So these entities, these societies in college create this brotherhood, and the Skull and Crossbone basically means that these people are going to rise into power into politics, and the cross